Right now at 6, a KGW weather impact alert as a spring snowstorm hammers the Cascades.
And the snow now feels like what you'd expect a couple months ago.
Then a federal judge intervenes as questions fly over how the feds handled a Woodburn mom's immigration case.
There was no transcript, there was no written decision from the immigration judge.
And the Washington County neighbors left in the dark over a proposed housing project.
And the county just hasn't been willing to engage with us.
Plus,
I just remember it was a long, never-ending walk.
but for those landing at PDX, that's changing. And later, the road ahead for Rip City as the team ends a 5-year drought.
The Blazers are going to the playoffs.
All the fresh snow made it for a much more comfortable landing on my way down because I did fall more often than I did anything else.
A lot of fresh snow falling as well in the Cascades today, which is why KGW has issued a weather impact alert. Thanks for joining us here at 6. I'm Christine Pitawanich. While all the snow can be fun, take a look at this live traffic cam on Highway 26 near Government Camp. You can see on the road there's some snow, on the sides as well. A good reminder to use extra caution if you're driving through the passes over the next couple of days. Let's send it over now to Chief Meteorologist Matt Spino tracking it all for us tonight. Hey, Matt.
Hi, Christine. Yeah, it's been snowing good and hard up in the Cascades since yesterday, and it's up to 17 inches now at Timberline, which is fantastic. We'll take as much as we can get. The longer we can keep things cool and wet and white up in the Cascades, the more we delay and hopefully mitigate the upcoming wildfire season, which we know is on the way. Now, down at Government Camp, you can see there's snow on the roads there, snow on the roads at Santiam Pass, and snow on the road and in the air at Willamette Pass. So the passes snowy, they will be slippery tonight and tomorrow morning, and then things should begin to improve. The winter storm warning will continue until 5 a.m. tomorrow. Then that will be allowed to expire. However, there's a frost advisory up in the valleys here, not for the Portland area proper. The urban core won't get cold enough, but once you get away from the downtown core, it will be cold enough for frost. So if your garden is out there, if you've got any young plant starts out that need protection from the cold weather, start thinking about that now. And then again, for Friday morning, which may actually see more widespread frost. So the snow in the Cascades will continue overnight tonight. We should get several more inches. Snow all the way down to about 1,500 feet. So zigzag, welches, probably see at least snowflakes in the air. And then frost in the valleys, not just tomorrow morning, but Friday morning as well. However, Christine, I do have a warm-up on the way for the weekend.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you so much. Well, skiers and boarders definitely excited, at least for now, for the late season snowstorm, but will it help with our snow drought? Meteorologist Joe Ranieri has more from Mount Hood.
Unfortunately, this latest snowstorm really won't make much of a dent in our dwindling snowpack that we've been seeing so far over the last couple of months. But this latest storm's not stopping people from enjoying some spring skiing. Blustery but beautiful is the best way to describe this latest storm to hit the Oregon Cascades.
The snow a month ago felt like what you'd expect in April, and the snow now feels like what you'd expect a couple months ago. So it's a little backwards, but I'll take it.
It feels more like early winter as skiers and snowboarders enjoy the snow that's been hard to come by this year.
Yeah, it's been just like ice on the ground. I've been beating up my snowboard a bunch, and it's pretty brutal. You know, you fall, it hurts. Today it was the exact opposite. It was like butter. You know, I fell once and it was just soft as a pillow.
That powdery snow made it easier to break George Snyder's fall, who tried his shot at snowboarding for the first time.
All the fresh snow made it for a much more comfortable landing on my way down because I did fall more often than I did anything else.
Aaron Philbeck has spent this year getting a taste of all the major ski resorts in the Pacific Northwest.
I got a season pass at Snoqualmie, and that didn't really pan out, so I've just been traveling to Baker, to here. We went to White Pass last weekend. Yeah, it's been great.
The skiing might be great news, but the snowpack has been rough.
Across the state, we're still about 12% of normal, so it's still a snow drought across the whole state right now, which was due to warmer than normal temperatures that were persistent during the winter.
Jason Ward, who's a hydrologist with the Oregon Snow Survey, says it's too late in the season to make a difference.
It's good for spring skiing perhaps briefly, but it's not going to really translate to big water supply relief. We needed a sustained period of these types of events really to get recovery from a snow drought perspective.
Just like we saw this past winter, conditions like this won't be sticking around to help with our water supply.
There's still a lot to play out still in terms of that, so it depends on spring precip.
Even though this season wasn't what a lot of us were expecting, Timberline Lodge is still up and running while Mount Hood Meadows closed a week ago. Outside Government Camp, Joe Ranieri, KGW News.
Looking like winter where he is. And like Matt said, that winter storm warning is in effect until tomorrow morning. And remember, you can get the latest updates and forecast anytime on our website, kgw.com, or on our free TV streaming app, KGW Plus. In your headlines, investigators are trying to figure out what happened to a woman missing since 2024 after her remains were found on Sunday. 33-year-old Haley Athay went missing from Kelso on Thanksgiving of 2024. Two men found her remains in a wooded area in Rose Valley in Cowlitz County. That's where she was reported last seen. Her identity was confirmed through dental records, but the coroner says they're still working on figuring out how she died. Athay leaves behind 3 daughters. 8 people are in custody after a drug trafficking bust in Portland's Park Rose neighborhood. Investigators say they got a search warrant for a home on Northeast 96th and Mason after a deputy noticed suspicious activity consistent with drug trafficking during some routine patrols. During the search Monday, authorities recovered drugs, cash, and stolen property, they say, including an e-bike. The Multnomah County DA's office will now consider charges. President Trump is throwing his support behind Republican State Senator John Braun in his bid to represent Washington's 3rd Congressional District. Braun launched his bid to unseat the incumbent, Representative Marie Gluesenkamp-Perez, last August. He currently represents the state's 20th legislative district and has served as Senate Minority Leader since 2020. In a social media post yesterday, Trump praised Braun's track record while bashing Gluesenkamp-Perez as a, quote, radical left extremist. Braun thanked Trump, saying in part, quote, I'm excited to work with you and our Republican majority in Congress to keep our borders secure and our communities safe and to make life affordable for all Americans. Washington's primary is scheduled for August 4th. Legacy Health and Regents are still working to reach a new contract agreement. The last one expired on April 1st, which means Legacy is now out of network for Regents members. Both sides say negotiations have restarted after new talks between leadership. Legacy says the main issue is reimbursement rates and that it needs higher payments to keep up with rising costs.
Trying to balance that where we understand the pressures that they have and they understand the pressures that we have and come together to try to cross that chasm where we both can work within it.
Legacy says in the meantime, it is helping patients figure out their options. There is no timeline for a new deal.
She was detained for a little over 8 months and separated from her 2 young children that entire time.
A mom of 2 detained by ICE in Woodburn last August was released this week from the ICE processing center in Tacoma. Celine Stevens is live in downtown Portland for us after speaking with that woman's lawyer. Celine, what led to her release?
Christine, so her attorneys filed a habeas corpus petition. That's a legal action that someone can take to challenge the legality of their detention. That led to a U.S. District Judge granting her immediate release. And now, as of yesterday, she's back home with her 2 kids.
Unfortunately, the vast majority of bond hearings out of the Tacoma Immigration Court are sham hearings.
Kathleen Pritchard is one of the attorneys who represented Marta Escalante Perez. She was detained last August while on her way to work in Woodburn. Marta, originally from Guatemala, has been in the U.S. for around a decade before her detainment, seeking asylum.
She suffered 2 instances of gang rapes when she was a minor child. And she was actually previously in removal proceedings, which the government, DHS, chose to close. They chose to close the case against her, finding that it was no longer in the government's interest to prosecute a removal case against her.
Immigration enforcement detained dozens of people last year in the Woodburn area during large sweeps.
They're just regular family members. They're on their way to work, they're on their way to drop off their kids to school or just doing what they have to do to survive.
A statement from DHS earlier this year claimed the mom of 2 was previously convicted of driving under the influence and that she would receive full due process. KGW was not able to find evidence of that conviction.
We have found no record of any DUI that Marta has on her record. We found no record of any criminal history for Marta.
Her attorney says that due process did not happen, which led them to file a habeas corpus petition.
One of the central theories in that habeas petition was that a bond hearing that Marta had had in December of 2025 had violated her due process rights. In Marta's case, her hearing was conducted without being recorded. There was no transcript. There was no written decision from the immigration judge.
Marta was marked as a flight risk by the judge, which court documents argue was an abuse of discretion. On Tuesday, a U.S. district judge ordered the immediate release of Marta.
We believed, and the federal court agreed, that due process requires more.
Her attorney says overall in recent months, they have seen a significant drop in detentions, but both her and community activism groups say there's more work to be done.
We hope to see that continue, but in the meantime, we are still working hard to file habeas petitions like the one in Marta's case to continue to ensure that folks that were swept up in the significant detentions that we saw over the fall get out of detention.
Out of the dozens and dozens of detentions that have happened, not enough releases are happening.
So I reached out to DHS multiple times today for comment regarding Marta's detainment and release, but I have not yet heard back. Christine?
Appreciate the update. Celine Stevens reporting live from downtown Portland. Thank you, Celine.